Hi, welcome back guys. This is your friend, the What If guy, back with another fanfiction. This is the first part of What If Issei Had Malevolent Powers? Now before starting, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. 5 centuries had passed since the cataclysmic clash that altered the course of history, leaving behind a tapestry of existence woven with triumph and tragedy. The dark, stormy ambience echoed the tempestuous night that had transpired long ago. In this eternal Seiwasil, a thriving town emerged, a testament to humanity's resilience against the ancient chaos of dragons. At the heart of this transformation stood Kuo General Hospital, a monument to compassion, rising from the very soil that bore witness to the catastrophic fall of the twin dragon emperors. Within the bustling corridors of Kuo General Hospital, anticipation filled the air. Hyoudo was on the verge of bringing new life into the world. Yet, unbeknownst to those present, a shadow of darkness stirred in the corners, a remnant of a bygone era. This darkness, weakened by the dragon's downfall, had found a crack in its prison, yearning for freedom. Emerging from its subterranean confinement, the darkness coalesced into a form of obsidian-hued smoke, a fleeting manifestation that held echoes of a forgotten existence. Cloaked in shadow, it navigated the labyrinthine halls of the hospital, drawn inexorably to the woman at the center of the unfolding drama. Though its form was intangible, hints of a human silhouette lingered, a ghostly echo of memories long past. The thrill of newfound liberation surged through its essence, tempered by the grim reality. It had emerged into a world diminished, a mere shadow of its former power, a consequence of eons spent in captivity. A purpose crystallized. It needed a host, a vessel to reclaim its strength. Fate, seemingly attuned to its desires, directed the entity's focus toward the imminent arrival of life. Guided by instinct, it traversed the hospital's expanse, cloaked from mortal sight, a spectral presence with a singular intent. Its destination lay within a room aglow with medical instruments and hushed voices. Inside, Hyoudo's journey toward motherhood unfolded amidst the agonizing rhythm of LBR. As the entity crossed the threshold, it beheld a tableau of maternal perseverance. Mickey, her face a blend of pain and determination, obred to bring forth her firstborn, a daughter named Ichika. Yet, beyond ordinary perception, the entity sensed a shift in reality, a presence already intertwined with the newborn, a sentient essence from realms unknown. A moment too late, for the mother had become a vessel for another. Undeterred, the entity's focus shifted to the second child, a son named Issei, whose entrance into the world was imminent. With ethereal grace, it infiltrated Mickey's form, seeking solace within her flesh. Gazing upon the unborn child nestled within, it prepared for an intricate dance of connection, its smoky tendrils reaching toward the infant's nascent soul. A bond was forged, uniting two entities, disparate yet bound by purpose. Within the throes of Mickey's LBR, the entity became an unseen observer, a witness to the primal struggle of creation. As the culmination of agony and triumph collided, Issei's cries resonated through the chamber, marking his arrival. The entity, shrouded in shadow, bore witness as the infant drew his first breaths, his emergence filled with the joy and exhaustion of his parents. Serendipity favored its design. Mere minutes could have thwarted its intricate plan. As the parents bestowed names upon their offspring, favoritism emerged. Ichika, the chosen one, held a special place in their hearts. An incidental detail, for familial bonds were inconsequential in the entity's grand scheme. Issei's purpose was clear: to serve as a vessel through which the entity would feed upon the torrents of fear, the very sustenance that would restore its long-lost dominion. A whirlwind of anticipation swirled within the entity, its perception of time distorted by centuries of captivity. Yet, it remained patient. What were a few fleeting years compared to its eternity of isolation? The stage was set, the players assembled, and the entity would bide its time, a specter in the shadows, poised to reap the harvest of dread that would restore its shattered might. 4 years had passed since that fateful night, the night it escaped captivity and bonded with its host. During these years, it remained dormant, quietly observing everything around Issei. Initially, the twins received equal attention from their parents, but as they grew, the dynamic shifted. Issei, the boy who hosted it, began to receive less attention, while Ichika garnered the majority of their parents' focus. If Ichika desired something and Issei another, Ichika would always prevail, with Issei promised a turn that never seemed to arrive. Though their parents weren't abusive, their neglect was evident, and it became clear to anyone that Ichika was the favored child. Issei, still very young, didn't fully grasp this dynamic, but the entity within him understood that time would reveal the truth, and the fear of his parents' lack of love would become a tantalizing sensation. Kindergarten marked the twins' first day of school, and they entered their new classroom. The teacher, whose name the entity didn't bother to learn, paired up each student. Issei was paired with a boy who had dark hair and glasses. As the day progressed, the two boys struck up a friendship, discussing their favorite shows, toys, and games. However, their camaraderie took an unexpected turn when Issei unwittingly revealed a secret. "I don't think you'd like that one. It has spiders in it," Issei said, unknowingly sealing his fate. Startled, the boy asked, "How do you know I'm scared of spiders?" "I just know, like how I know you're also scared of heights and clowns," Issei replied casually. "I know what everyone is afraid of." The entity was surprised by the rapid manifestation of this unusual ability. It had expected it would take longer for Issei to exhibit powers from their connection, but this signified a high level of compatibility. "That's so weird," the boy with glasses said, rushing to tell the teacher. While the teacher didn't genuinely believe that a child could know others' fears, she assigned the boy with glasses to form a trio with two others, unwittingly initiating a cascade of rumors. From that day forward, Issei became a social outcast. No one played or talked with him, and the teacher made no effort to address his isolation. Issei remained an outcast for years until two girls befriended him, but both eventually moved away. The entity didn't bother to remember their names but could recall their appearances, one tomboyish with light orange hair, the other shy with raven black hair. Their departure only deepened Issei's isolation. Turning to the internet, Issei began creating horror content under the alias Nightmare Author, which gained immense popularity for its spine-chilling nature. Now, at 17 years old and in his third year of high school, his sister had become increasingly popular, especially after joining the school's occult research club. Our story takes us to a fateful night when, on his way home, Issei was approached by a girl with long dark hair and pink eyes. "Are you Issei Hyoudo?" the girl asked. Surprised, Issei replied, "Yes, I am." He examined her carefully, noting that she wore a school uniform he didn't recognize. "My name is Yuma," she said, "and I was wondering if you'd go on a date with me." "What?" Issei exclaimed in astonishment. The boy stood in shock at the sudden proposal. "You want to go on a date with me? Are you sure you have the right guy? You're not mistaking me for someone else, are you?" Issei looked at the raven-haired girl in disbelief, unable to comprehend that anyone would want to date him. "You said you were Issei Hai, so no, I'm not mistaken." The girl looked at Issei with a strange innocence, almost unnatural. "So, do you want to go on a date with me, Issei?" Yeah. "When do you want to go out?" Issei asked, a mix of joy and shock on his face. "How does tomorrow at 4 sound?" "It sounds great. See you then." With that, the two parted ways. Issei began making his way home, later than usual since he had gone to see a newly released horror movie right after school. The sun had just begun setting as he walked through the quiet streets, a silence he always found unsettling. Eventually, he reached his home, which felt more like a place to sleep than a true home. He opened the door. "I'm home," Issei said as he walked in, but as usual, there was no response, which frustrated him even more since he could hear them talking in the living room. As he moved to the stairs, he glanced into the room, seeing not only his parents and sister but also a red-headed girl, Rias Gremory, the resident princess of Kuo Academy. He noted her frequent visits since his sister joined the occult research club. Weird, he thought, but he had learned to ignore his family's affairs since turning 13, when they dropped all pretenses of caring for him. They provided necessities and a small allowance, but beyond that, he was essentially a stranger. Once in his room, he locked the door and hopped on his computer. He had work to do. his editor had been pressing him for the next chapter of his horror anthology, and he had a commission to finish for a monster design. It wasn't until several hours later that he acknowledged the day's events. "Holy moly, I have a date tomorrow," he muttered, glancing at the clock. It was already 12. "Oh, I should probably eat something and go to bed." He grabbed a protein bar, ate it, and settled into bed for the night. The next morning, Issei woke up and got ready for school. As he left, he noticed his family and Rias were all eating breakfast together. He found it odd but chose to ignore it, focusing on his day. After school, he prepared for his date, opting for a simple black shirt and jeans, assuming they wouldn't be doing anything fancy. He set out toward their meeting spot, and on the way, a woman tried to hand him a flyer, but he politely refused and continued on, eventually arriving at the designated location. When he arrived, he saw Yuma was already there. "Hey Yuma. I hope you weren't waiting too long." "Not at all. I just got here." She gave him that same innocent look, which Issei found uncanny but dismissed as nothing unusual. "That's good. So, what do you want to do first?" he asked sheepishly. "How about we go get something to eat first?" "Sounds good." The two enjoyed various shops until the sun had set. They were walking in the park when they came to a fountain. "I've had a lot of fun tonight. What about you?" Issei asked. "I've had a good time, but there's still one last thing." "And what is that?" he asked nervously. "For you to die." As she said this, she transformed. The innocent teenager was replaced by a mature woman clad in dark attire. She quickly conjured a spear of light and hurled it through Issei's leg. "What's going on? Why are you doing this?" The strange glowing spear felt like fire, burning him. He dropped to his knees and looked up at the woman. "It's quite simple. I'm going to eliminate you before you become a threat to me and unlock your potential." A pair of raven black wings unfurled from her back. "Blame God for giving you that sacred gear. If it makes you feel any better, I did have fun on our date." With those words, she launched a second spear toward Issei, this one aimed at his chest. All Issei could think in that moment was that he wanted to live. He didn't want to die. He threw his hand up in a desperate attempt to shield himself from the spear. As he did, the fear of death, the purest and most primal of fears, finally empowered the entity within him. A plume of black smoke erupted from Issei's hand, consuming the spear, and a strange humanoid figure emerged from him, cloaked in the same obsidian-hued smoke. It rushed at Rainier and incapacitated her before she could react. "What the hell? What's going on?" Issei exclaimed, a mix of shock and panic filling his voice. "Ha, Issei, it's about time we met." Issei was frozen, unable to take his eyes off the scene before him. The woman lay on the ground, clutching her throat as a dark puddle of blood formed beneath her. A mysterious voice began to speak. "Ha, Issei, I've been waiting to speak to you for some time now." The voice was grating, speaking in multiple pitches at once, both high and low, scraping against his mind. "What's going on? Who are you? Why is this happening?" Issei asked, struggling to process the chaos around him. "So many questions and so few answers, poor boy. You must be shell-shocked. For starters, who am I?" "Well, you see, I have no name. And for what I am, to put it simply, I am you. We are one being bound forevermore." "What? A part of me? What do you mean?" "It means I am forever linked to your soul. For as long as you exist, so shall I. As for why you were attacked, she most likely sensed your magical energy and decided to eliminate you before you unlocked your power. I can explain more, but we must leave. You're injured, and there's a corpse in front of us. If we leave now, there'll be no way to link us to it." As the voice mentioned his injury, Issei looked down to see his leg had a hole straight through it, and suddenly, all the pain that had been dulled by shock flooded in. "Edge, my leg," he yelled in agony, relieved that no one was around to hear him. "Quiet, you'll draw attention to us. I have enough energy to stabilize your leg on the way home." As it spoke, the shadowy mass enveloped Issei's leg, creating a strange sensation. The pain subsided, replaced by an unnerving chill, like the feeling of being watched. "Okay, I'm gonna trust you. Whatever you are." Issei began the walk home, avoiding crowded areas to evade suspicion. The entity remained silent throughout the journey. Upon arriving home, he made his way to his room, locking the door behind him and collapsing onto his bed. Good. Now that you're safe, I can disengage the stabilization. The black mist surrounding his leg dissipated, and Issei looked in shock. The wound had healed, appearing as if it had never existed. How in the world is this healed? There was a hole clean through my leg. He continued to stare in disbelief as the entity began to speak, this time directly in his mind. I wish I could claim full credit, but that was mostly you. Your natural healing is greatly enhanced, it seems. Don't go thinking this makes you immortal, though. You just heal supernaturally fast. You don't regenerate or anything like that. How is any of this possible? You were talking about magic. This makes no sense, Issei exclaimed, confusion washing over him. I have much to explain, but first, allow me to tell you the story of how we came to be one. The being recounted the events of Issei's Biarch. And that, my boy, is how we came to be one. So you're some kind of parasite attached to my soul. Parasite? I am appalled. I am no such thing. I am linked to you, we are one being. Okay, so you're not a parasite. Then what are you? I am fear, the living manifestation of fear. Fear as in the emotion. The very same, my boy. As long as fear exists, I cannot be killed. Well then, Mr. Fear, I can't keep referring to you as you. We should give you a name. If you're insistent, the humans from before I was sealed had a name for me. They called me Umbris. Chapter and Issei, Umbris, huh? A fitting name, considering your spooky vibe. Umbris, I'll take that as a compliment. Now, back to business. We need to get you cloaked before our energy starts leaking everywhere. Issei, how do I do that? Umbris, focus. Picture yourself as an open vessel. You need to close that vessel before anything spills out. Issei, all right, I'll give it a shot. He took a deep breath and envisioned himself as a chest, metaphorically closing the lid. Did I do it right? Umbris, exactly. You're a natural. I'll have you trained and ready much sooner than I thought. Say, great. What's next? Umbris, rest. You've had a long night, and you need to be well rested to learn properly. Cloaking was simple, but it only gets more challenging from here. I need you at your best. Issei, okay then. Good night, I guess. See you tomorrow. Umbris, good night, Issei. With Ichika and Rias. Ichika, hey Rias, did you sense anything strange earlier? Rias, actually yes. It felt supernatural, but I didn't recognize the energy. It made me uneasy, like I was being watched. Ichika, I felt it too. It gave me chills. Rias, whatever it is, it's likely dangerous. Be extra cautious. Now, I need my beauty rest. Come over here, she said, settling in for the night. Ichika, yes, ma'am. Climbing into bed with Rias was a dream come true for Ichika. Despite her popularity, she had never felt attraction toward the boys at school. It was only after a game of spin the bottle at a party that she realized her feelings leaned toward girls. Drake to himself, it seems another player has taken their seat at the table. I wonder how you will fare, my host. The next morning with Issei, Umbris, Issei, wake up. We have much to do. Issei, 5 more minutes? Umbris, nope, none of that. Suddenly, Issei felt a cool breeze push him from the bed. Issei, hey, what was that for? He sat up, rubbing his eyes. Umbris, no time for laziness. Get ready and return to this room. It's time for a crash course on the truth of the supernatural. Issei, oh, I get it. He got ready, took a shower, dressed, and grabbed a toaster pastry for breakfast. As he passed the living room, he noticed his family with Rias Gremory. This time, Rias was surrounded by a faint red mist, as was his sister. Surprised, he stared, and unfortunately, Rias noticed him. Rias, hello, you must be Issei. I'm Rias. I don't believe we've had a chance to meet properly. Issei, you're right, we haven't. Issei hyoudo, nice to meet you. He said coolly. Rias, I hope my spending time here hasn't been a bother. Ichika has been helping me with my homework, and it gets late, so it's easier to stay here. As she spoke, Issei noticed red waves moving toward him. They passed without effect, but he felt uneasy. Issei, I don't care. It doesn't affect me. But if you need an excuse to come over, I wouldn't use the homework one. I've seen my sister's grades. She's not brain dead, but definitely not tutor material. Anyway, I've got things to do, so bye. He excused himself. Umbris, what was that? Umbris, she was trying to use suggestion on you. I'll explain soon, don't worry. Issei, all right? He returned to his room. So, care to explain? Umbris, yes, I will. Umbris began explaining the supernatural to Issei. Issei, so, you're telling me all of that is real? Angels, devils, mythological gods, all of it? Umbris, indeed. Unfortunately, we don't have time for all that to sink in. We need to start your training as soon as possible. I sense trouble brewing. Issei, wait, can you see the future? Umbris, I know. Once you live as I do, you develop a knack for sensing when things are off. Issei, okay. So, we should start training, right? What should I do? Umbris, I appreciate your enthusiasm, but not here. The devil girl and your sister would sense us if we began using magic. I found a remote location on the edge of town while you were asleep. It should work well for your training. I'll share its location with you. Issei felt a strange sensation, as if information was being injected into his mind. Issei, whoa, that's trippy. Umbris, you'll get used to it. Now let's go. We're wasting precious time. Issei, right, sorry. He left his house unnoticed and headed toward the location. Upon arrival, he found an abandoned warehouse. Alright, we're here. So what now? Umbris, luckily, you're already adept with mana, so we can skip that part. Let's get to the book. Say, book? Umbris, yes, a book. Do you remember the sacred gears I mentioned? Issei, oh yeah, the artifacts some people are born with? Umbris, it's similar. Focus and try to manifest it. Issei, he concentrated, feeling a solid mass within his energy. Suddenly, he was holding a black leather-bound book with a shadowy chain connecting it to him. Umbris, indeed. Say hello to the Tome of Nightmares. It's what's kept you alive all this time. Issei, wait, what? Umbris, normally, a human with your power would shut down, but the tome acts like a cork, allowing your body to handle it. Open it up. Issei, okay, I'll take a look. He opened the book and found only 4 pages with content. One was titled Ruin Crab with an illustration of a crab. The next, Somnophage, depicted a smoky black figure resembling Umbris. The third was a transformation called Thief of Sanity, and the last was a spell called Breath of Fear. So, Umbris, care to explain what all this is? Umbris, patience, my boy, but yes, I'll explain. Our magical proficiencies are summoning, transformation, and illusion. The ruin crab emits a frequency that causes unease in humans and is quite resilient, making it a good shield. The somnophage collects fear and returns it to me. The thief of sanity allows you to transform into a sneaky specter-like creature, and the breath of nightmare releases a gas that causes the victim to see their worst fear. Issei, gnarly. So, should we start training? Umbris, yes, that sounds about right. It's been a month since the last chapter, and Issei has been consistently training his powers. While he hasn't unlocked any new abilities, he has become more skilled with the ones he possesses. During this time, a new girl moved in with them. His sister claimed she was a foreign exchange student, but Issei knew the truth. She was another devil. Despite this, Issei remained indifferent, focused on his rigorous training and a significant ghostwriting project for a big American studio that was paying well. Issei sat at his desk, writing, finally done. I thought I'd never finish, and leaned back, cracking his neck. Umbris commented, finally. I thought you'd never finish that. You've spent the last week on it, and we've barely trained. You even skipped school. Issei replied, Umbris, I know you've been a bit restless, but this is a huge opportunity for us. If we nail this gig, I can finally move out, and we won't have to keep suppressing. I hate feeling like a balloon about to burst. Umbris expressed concern, I understand, But I think you went a little overboard. Issei conceded. Fair enough. Let's go for a walk. I could use some fresh air. Umbris agreed, a great idea. Let's go right now. Issei teased. I'm going. You dork. Umbris retorted, hey, I'm still the embodiment of fear. I should be respected. Issei chuckled, I'll treat you like a primordial being when you act like one. Umbris huffed, Issei grinned, now let's get going, I need to stretch my legs. As Issei put on his shoes, his mother, Miki, approached him, asking him to deliver a bento box to his sister. Issei, annoyed, negotiated for $15 worth of yen. He took the money and the lunchbox, grumbling, got it. See you around. Miki sighed, be safe. Love you. Issei replied sarcastically, sure you do, and walked out the door, declaring, well then, buddy, guess we're going to the Devil's Den. Umbris expressed concern, I don't like this. What if they realize you're not normal and corner you? Issei reassured, it'll be fine. Worst case, I breathe nightmares and escape. Umbris pointed out, they know where you live. Issei acknowledged, good point. I'll be extra careful. Umbris concluded, all right, I'll trust your judgment on this one. Issei made his way to the club building, arriving at a creepy abandoned mansion. Inside, he marveled, wow, Umbris, this place is nicer than our house. Umbris explained, that's Hell's Princess for you, only the finest. Issei nodded, anyway, I should probably find her now. He called out, hello, anyone here? No response. Guess she's not around. As he was about to leave, he heard faint voices from upstairs. Sighing, he thought, I wish I didn't value my word, and followed the noise to a room upstairs. He knocked on the wooden door, and it fell silent almost immediately. A few seconds later, a blonde-haired boy opened the door, revealing himself as Kiba, the school's resident Prince Charming. Kiba, hello, can I help you? Issei, yeah, is Ichika here? Kiba, why? Issei, I'm her brother, she left her lunch at home. I'm here to give it to her. Rias, oh Issei, what a pleasant surprise. Ichika, you have a visitor. She called out in a sing-song voice, clearly putting on an act. Ichika, who is it, Prez? She walked into the room, her expression souring upon seeing Issei. Oh, it's you. Say, yep, it's me. Here's your lunch. He tossed the box to her. Ichika, thanks, I guess. Issei, yeah, whatever. I'm out, I've done my job. Rias, why don't you stay for a cup of tea? I would be a terrible host if I didn't offer refreshments. Issei, I'm not really a guest, more like a Dielvoy guy. Thanks for the offer, but I'm going to decline, I have plans. This was just a quick detour. He forced a sickly sweet tone he hated using. Rias, oh, I understand. Well, don't be a stranger. Come by sometime. I've heard you're quite the horror expert. Issei, I am a connoisseur. I just might take you up on that offer. He thought to himself that there was no chance he would ever return willingly. He felt the eyes of the others on him, ready to defend their emptiness like a pack of wolves. But one glare was especially strong. A short white-haired girl, a first year, staring at him intently, almost obsessively following every slight move he made. Issei, anyway, I've gotta go now. Goodbye, have a nice day. He moved out of the room and shut the door. As he exited the house, the others heard his hurried footsteps. Once he was out of earshot, Rias looked at her rook, one question on her mind. Rias, why do you look so shaken up, Kaneko? Kaneko, he's not human, the girl said bluntly, a hint of fear in her voice. I don't know what he is, but he's filled with dark energy. Everyone else, what? Rias, shouldn't we have felt it if he has so much dark energy? Kaneko, no, he was suppressing it almost perfectly. Chapter End. Issei walked down the street, reflecting on the events that had unfolded at the Occult Research Club just 2 hours earlier. Issei, well, that was something. I felt like a rabbit in a wolf's den. Umbris, makes sense. You were surrounded by devils in their own territory. Your instincts have sharpened since your awakening. Issei, that's for sure. Anyway, we've got the whole day ahead of us. Want to catch a movie? Umbris, a horror one. Issei, what other kind would I see? Umbris, true, but yes, that sounds like a plan. I could go for a snack. Issei, alright then, let's get going. After enjoying a random horror movie, Issei and Umbris decided to head to their training hideout. Upon arrival, they sensed something was off, but dismissed it as paranoia and began their training. Issei summoned ruin crabs, feeling a rush of excitement. I finally got 4 at once. Umbris cautioned, good job, but don't get too cocky. Ruin crabs require very little mana to summon and maintain compared to what you'll encounter later. They are more like practice tools than combatants. We really should get you training with a weapon. Just as Umbris finished speaking, Issei felt a sudden spike of mana. He instinctively jumped aside as a blast of magic struck the ground where he had just been standing. Looking up, he saw a woman, well, the upper half of one. Her lower body was monstrous, and she appeared to be in a state of disarray. Issei, oh what the heck? The creature leaped down from the rafters, landing in front of him. Perfect. I was getting hungry, and you'll make a great meal, especially since you're unarmed. Issei thought, Umbris, what is she? Umbris replied, most likely a stray devil based on her energy. Issei, a stray? Umbris, I'll explain later. For now, we can eliminate her without repercussions from the devil factions. Issei, okay, how do we do that? Umbris, we have enough energy to manifest my claws. You'll need to close the distance and deliver a lethal blow. But be warned, we only have one shot at this. We can't maintain my claws for long. The stray taunted, is the little boy too scared to move? Don't worry, I'm just going to kill you. She lunged at Issei, who dodged just in time. Looks like you can move after all. No matter, the chase will just make you taste better. She lunged again, and this time Issei charged toward her, thinking he was defenseless. In a swift motion, his right hand transformed into a monstrous limb with razor-sharp claws. With one decisive slash, he severed her head from her body, blood spraying everywhere. Issei, I thought there would be more resistance. Umbris, what was that? Issei, I thought it would be harder. It went right through like a knife through butter. As he pondered this, a black mist began to emanate from the body. Wait, what's that? Umbris urged, open the book, Issei, what? Umbris, the Tome of Nightmares. Open it now. Issei summoned the tome, and as he opened it, the black fog was drawn into it, filling him with a surge of energy. Holy cow, what was that? Umbris explained, pure negative energy. I wanted to prepare you for this, but there's no hiding it now. To grow stronger, you need to kill. I need to kill. Umbris, indeed. When someone is killed, it releases all the negative energy within them, which the Tome of Nightmares can absorb and filter into you. Issei, filter into me. Umbris, yes, it detoxifies the energy so you can metabolize it without harm. Think of it as building an immunity. Issei, okay, and what does this mean for me? Umbris, when you absorb that energy, filtered or not, it's still magical energy entering your body. Your mana reserves will grow, allowing you to unlock more of my abilities in the tome. Issei, I guess that makes sense, but I'm not a killer. I doubt I'll have a steady stream of people I can justify it with self-defense. Umbris, actually, we are incentivized to target those who deserve it. The more negative energy a person has, the more of a boost we'll gain. Issei, I mean that makes sense, but can I really do this? Umbris reassured him, hey, I know you're hesitant, but it's the only way. You'll be doing a good thing by eliminating criminals and monsters. Issei, yeah, I guess you're right. I would be doing a good thing. Umbris, that's my boy. Now we need to leave. If she was hiding here, it's only a matter of time before House Gremory or House Citri arrives. Issei, Citri. As in Sona Citri, the student body president. Umbris, yes, your school student government is essentially a front for Sona's peerage. They are all devils. Issei, you need to tell me these things sooner, Umbris. You're the one who knows about the supernatural. Umbris, you're right. I should have kept you informed. Let's go. Say, right? I need a shower. Umbris, good idea. Issei hurried home, relieved to find that it was late enough that his parents and sister were out. He quickly made his way to the bathroom, stripping before stepping into the warm shower. As the red-tinged water swirled down the drain, he sighed deeply. Issei, it's strange. If you had told me 2 months ago that the supernatural was real and that I'd be a killer, I would have thought you were crazy. But now, it feels almost normal. Umbris, is that a bad thing? Adapting quickly could be beneficial. Issei, it's not bad, just strange. I always knew I wasn't normal, but to think I have an ancient primordial being inside me is just wild. Umbris corrected him, Avatar. I'm an avatar, not a god. There's a significant difference. Issei, oh whatever. After his shower, Issei realized he had forgotten to grab clean clothes. Wrapping a towel around his waist, he stepped out of the bathroom, holding his bloody clothes. Just then, his sister Rias and a blonde girl he couldn't quite place came up the stairs. Issei, well, this is awkward. The three stood there, unsure of what to say until Rias noticed the BLD say, why are your clothes covered in BLD? Issei stammered, this isn't BLD, it's tomato juice. Yeah, I was at a restaurant, and a waiter spilled a glass on me. I hopped right in the shower when I got home and forgot to grab a clean outfit. Anyway, I'm going to go change. As he turned to leave, the girls caught sight of an intricate tattoo on his back resembling a magic circle with a clawed hand at the center. He quickly dashed to his room, slamming the door behind him. Rias turned to Ichika. Since when did your brother have tattoos? Ichika shrugged, I dunno. Rias mused, I think we need to take a closer look at it sometime. I could leave an anonymous tip at the student body. They'll have to investigate and maybe get us a sketch. Asia chimed in, isn't that an invasion of privacy? Ichika dismissed it, who cares? Either it's just a tattoo, which clearly isn't Yakuza, or it's something supernatural. Rias agreed, exactly. Now, I'm exhausted. Let's get some rest. Ichika nodded, sounds good. In his room, Issei caught a glimpse of his back in the mirror, staring at the sprawling design now etched into his skin. Issei, oh, what the heck is that? Umbris explained, my sigil. It shouldn't have manifested yet. You're not powerful enough to be marked yet. Issei, explain now. Umbris, when hosts to powerful supernatural beings grow strong enough, they are marked with a sigil representing the entity they are linked with. Issei, so I got mine early. Umbris, it seems so. Issei panicked, oh no, those three saw it when I turned to run. What if they figure it out? Umbris reassured him, it should be fine. Sigils are unique, so they might have mistaken it for a common tattoo. Issei, hopefully. Umbris, anyway, I want to discuss getting you a weapon. I have the perfect idea. The next morning arrived, and Issei groaned at the thought of returning to school after skipping a week. He went through his morning routine and made his way downstairs, overhearing Rias and the other girl talking to their parents. Issei thought, great, I was hoping they'd be gone by now. I don't want to deal with them after last night. Umbris suggested, why not sneak out your window? Issei exclaimed, are you crazy? Umbris replied, no, your body is more durable now. You could easily handle a fall from that height. Issei realized, oh, you're right. Taking Umbris's advice, he returned to his room and climbed out the window. His legs stung briefly, but his healing factor quickly took care of it. Issei remarked, man, this healing factor is great. Umbris agreed, indeed, but remember not to get cocky. Issei interjected, yeah, I know. Umbris continued, I just want you to be safe. My survival is tied to yours. Issei joked, geez, I feel so loved. Umbris assured him, I do care for you, Issei. If you die, it will take me millennia to regain the strength to remanifest. Issei grinned, good thing I don't plan on dying. Umbris chuckled, huh, good indeed. The two settled into silence as Issei made his way to Kuo Academy. As he walked through the halls, he felt like a ghost, unnoticed and unacknowledged. He settled into his usual spot in the back corner of homeroom. When the teacher called his name, he replied, here? The teacher remarked, oh, that's a surprise. I thought you had died or something. You missed a whole week without a word. Issei explained, Sorry I was sick. The teacher shrugged. Doesn't matter much anyway. Next name is. Issei tuned out the rest of the attendants. He felt like coming to school was a mistake. For the next few hours he drifted through classes, unnoticed by his peers, until the bell rang, signaling the end of the day. Issei thought, finally, it's over. Umbris agreed, this has been excruciatingly boring. Let's go train now that you'll be hunting. You need to MSTR our power. Issei nodded, yeah, you're right. I think I'll focus on somnophages now that I have the crabs down. Umbris approved, good idea, my boy. Somnophages are our most useful tool right now. As Issei packed up, a blond boy he recognized as the treasurer of the student council approached him. Saji asked for you, Issei hyoudo, correct? The boy asked. Yes, that's me, Issei replied cautiously, sensing the aura of a devil around him. Would you please come with me? The president wishes to speak with you, Saji requested. Issei inquired, have I done something wrong? Saji reassured him, not necessarily. Just follow me, please. Issei complied, okay then. He followed Saji to the council room. Upon entering, he noticed that most of the council was absent. Only the president, Sona, and another member whose name he couldn't remember were present. He took a seat, noting how Saji stood in front of the door, blocking the only exit. After a moment of silence, Issei spoke up. So what did you want to discuss with me, Miss Citri? We received an anonymous report that you have a tattoo on your back and wanted to verify that, Sona explained. Issei's thoughts raced, oh no, Ichika or Rias must have tipped her off about my sigil. Umbris, what do I do? Umbris advised, don't panic. Stay calm. If they see you're nervous, they'll suspect something. Issei agreed internally, right, I can handle this. Umbris encouraged him, I believe in. Issei replied, oh I see. So what happens next? Sona continued, first, we need to verify. If you would please show your back. Issei stood and pulled up the back of his uniform, revealing his sigil to the three present. So it's true. You do have a tattoo, Sona observed. Issei explained, well, yes, but I'm not part of the Yakuza or anything. I just thought it would look cool. Sona nodded, I see. So when did you get this tattoo? As Issei navigated the conversation, he didn't notice the blue-haired girl snapping a picture of the sigil. I see. So you thought it would look cool to have a weird magic circle on your back, so you got the tattoo, Sona summarized. Issei confirmed, yes, that's right. Sona concluded, well, I think we can excuse this since it's clearly not gang-related and is easy to hide. Just don't go around showing it off, and we'll consider this matter settled. Issei agreed, deal. I promise not to show it off. Sona nodded, very good. You're free to go. Issei bid farewell, all right, have a good night, you three. As he left, the three remained behind. It's hard to believe he's the same boy, Sona reflected. Saji inquired, what do you mean, ma'am? Sona reminisced, when we were younger, we were both social outcasts, so we hung out a lot. He is one of the few who can say they've beaten me at chess. But I moved back to the underworld soon after, so I doubt he remembers. Saji commented, that's too bad, President, Sona agreed, indeed. But back to matters at hand. She turned to the blue-haired girl. What's your verdict? Tsubasa reported, he's still human, but there's definitely something supernatural about him. When I tried to get a closer look, I just saw a mass of black smoke around him. Sona mused, I see. So he is still human, but he has some kind of tag-along or sacred gear. Tsubasa confirmed, that's my theory, ma'am. Sona concluded, well, this is certainly a peculiar case. Did you manage to get a photo of the tattoo? Tsubasa replied, yes, ma'am, holding up her phone. Sona instructed, good. Send it to me. I'm going to ask my sister to look into it for me. Tsubasa confirmed, I just sent it to you, ma'am. Sona concluded, good. You two are free to go. Saji nodded, all right, see you tomorrow, President. Tsubasa bid farewell. Have a good evening, ma'am. Sona acknowledged, yes, goodbye, you two, as they left. She then dialed Rias's number. After a few rings, Rias picked up. Sona, did you manage to figure anything out? Rias inquired. Sona responded, well, I can confirm he's still human, but there's definitely something supernatural going on with him. What it is exactly we don't know. Rias stated, I see. Thanks for looking into it, Sona. Sona replied, of course, Kuo is my territory as well. If there's an unknown threat, I want to know what it is. Oh, and Rias, I'm sending a picture of the tattoo to my sister for her to investigate. Until we know what's going on with Hyoudo, we should be very careful around him. Rias agreed, yes, I know. Sona concluded, all right then, I have other matters to attend to tonight, so I'm going to let you go. Rias bid farewell, bye, Sona. Sona reciprocated, goodbye, and hung up. She then texted her sister the picture and asked her to look into it. After some time deciphering the emojis and magical girl talk, her sister agreed to help. Sona glanced at a picture on her shelf showing her and Issei playing chess. Just what have you become, Issei? Chapter end. It had been an hour since Issei left the meeting with Sona. The day had been long, and he decided to skip training, opting instead to head straight into the hunt. He wandered through the shadier part of town, unaware that he was being watched. Kaneko was on the phone with Rias. I found him, President. He's just walking around in the shady part of town, but one thing concerns me. What is it? Rias asked. That mass of negative energy has gotten bigger since I last saw it. Good to know. Keep watching him and remain hidden. Yes, ma'am. Kaneko continued to observe Issei with growing curiosity until he slipped into a dark, secluded alley. She quickly moved to another rooftop to get a better view, and what she saw shocked her. Issei's right hand had transformed into razor-sharp claws. She watched in horror as he snuck up on a man from behind, using his claws to strike with deadly precision. Pure negative energy began to leak from the body, and Issei manifested a black book, absorbing the energy into himself, watching the dark mass within him grow. Once all the energy had been consumed, he wiped his claws on the man's shirt and walked away. Kaneko quickly called Rias. Kaneko, what is it? Ichika and I were about to take a bath, Rias said. It's about the perv's brother. He just killed a man and absorbed the negative energy from the corpse. Though Kaneko spoke with her usual emotionless tone, Rias could sense her unease. Kaneko, did you get any clues on what his abilities are? He manifested claws and used a black book to absorb the negative energy. It was creepy how precise he was, like watching a predator take down its prey. So you think he is a stealthy fighter, relying on ambushes? I think so. Keep following him. I'm sure we'll all meet up with you and ambush him. If he relies on stealth, we shouldn't have trouble against him. Yes, ma'am. After another hour of watching, Issei finally returned to what seemed to be his hideout, the same warehouse where they had found the stray devil's corpse. Kaneko alerted Rias, and within 10 minutes, the rest of the peerage arrived. So you're sure he's still in there, Kaneko? Rias asked. Yeah, I can sense him. It's like a giant mass of shadow. I still can't believe my brother is involved in all this. I mean, he's such a loser, Ichika said. You know what they say, Ichika, don't judge a book by its cover, Kiba replied. Ichika rolled her eyes. That's so corny. He's right though. In the supernatural world, you never know what's going to happen next. Speaking of which, we should get down there and deal with him. Finally, some action. Ichika said, equipping the BLD red gauntlet of the boosted gear. Down in the warehouse, Issei sat at a small table, a lone cupcake in front of him with 2 candles forming the number. He watched the clock on his phone move closer to midnight, fidgeting with a lighter, igniting and extinguishing it repeatedly. 5 more minutes, Issei said with a sigh. Shouldn't you be more excited, Issei? You're turning. That's an important age for you humans, Umbris remarked. You can read my thoughts, Umbris. I don't need to explain why I hate my birthday. I know you've had your birthdays ignored before, but now you have me. Let's skip school tomorrow and have some fun, or better yet, just drop out. I just might, he chuckled lightly. I did just get that offer to be a writer for that studio. This could be my way out. Their conversation was interrupted by the sound of the door opening. Issei looked over and saw the members of the Occult Research Club standing in the doorway, ready for a confrontation. Rias and the black-haired woman, whose name he couldn't recall, stood with magic circles prepared to unleash spells at a moment's notice. His sister, the school's pretty boy Kiba, and a small white-haired girl he didn't know were also ready for battle. The blonde girl stood back, seemingly not prepared to attack. Seeing this, Issei stood up and cracked his neck. "So I take it you've figured out I'm not your average guy." "That's right. Now you can surrender and come peacefully, or we'll have to use force," Ria stated. "Or just hear me out here. You six leave now, and I won't have to fight you." "I'm afraid we can't do that." Too bad." He brought out Umbris's claws. "Come at me." And with that, the fight began. Kiba, Ichika, and Kaneko rushed in, launching a brutal assault on Issei, but he dodged and parried every attack with ease. Noticing an arc of lightning coming his way, he goaded Kiba, who was wielding a sword, into its path. The attack collided, knocking the blonde unconscious. "One down, 5 to go," Issei taunted. Next to fall was Kaneko, who ducked under a punch from his sister, which collided squarely with the small girl's head, knocking her out as well. "2 down," he mocked. "It's not too late to give up." As he continued to mock them, Ichika snuck behind him and landed a devastating punch, sending him crashing onto the table he had been sitting at earlier. As he regained his senses, he saw the cupcake on the ground, completely ruined, and memories flooded back of the day he started hating his birthday. It was the twins' 8th birthday, and the party was designed for Ichika, with all her favorite things and friends. When his parents brought out the cake, he was confused to see only her name on it. That confusion turned to despair as he was given a cheap store-bought cupcake with a single candle. It was the day he realized he didn't matter, that his parents only cared for their precious daughter. Back in the present, Issei's emotions were a storm of rage and sorrow. It only intensified when Ichika walked over and planted her foot on his chest. "Huh, you were talking big earlier, but I know the truth. You're just a pathetic loser," she said. As those words left her mouth, rage consumed him. What did she know about him? She had spent her whole life getting everything she wanted while he fought for scraps. He glanced at the ruined cupcake, his cupcake, the one thing he got for his birthday while she had extravagant cakes and parties. That was all she had ever done to him. Take. The thought echoed in his mind as he grabbed her ankle and threw her into the wall with a force that cracked the concrete. Issei stood, a sickening black smoke emanating from him as he walked. He thought he heard Umbris speaking, but he couldn't make out the words, so he ignored it. "I'm a pathetic loser." "Then what does that make you?" Almost instinctively, he summoned the tome and pulled a long spear from its pages. He stabbed the spear into her shoulder, and as she cried out in pain, he said, "A parasite. That's what you are. You're like a worm that seeks away everything I have." He pulled the spear from her and pressed it to her neck. "I should kill you right here, right now. Take from you as you've taken from me. You've lived a perfect life with parents who love you, an army of friends. Whatever you wanted, you got, while I suffered with parents who barely treated me like I existed. An outcast to my peers, I had to work for what I have, all while you were served a silver platter." He pulled the tip of the spear from her neck. "But I won't, because I'm better than you. You would strike me down if you had the chance, and we both know it. But I won't." Issei glanced at his phone. The screen cracked but still operational. Seeing the time read midnight, he sighed. "Consider this your birthday present from me. Happy birthday, Ichika Hyoudo." Unbeknownst to Issei, a massive barrier of black smoke had separated the others from helping Ichika. They all saw what happened but couldn't hear anything as the smoke muffled the sounds. As Issei stepped away from his sister, the barrier disappeared. "I'm going to be very generous right now. I'm not going to kill you tonight, so take your wounded and leave. If you ever come after me or get in my way again, I will not hesitate to kill you." Taking his warning to heart, the remaining members of the Occult Research Club grabbed their injured and fled, leaving Issei alone in the warehouse. "Happy birthday to me, I guess." Sona's room, 12:30 a.m. Sona was awakened by the sound of her phone ringing. She picked it up from the charger on her bedside table and answered, hearing her sister's voice on the line. "Sona, please tell me you've left whoever has this mark alone." Sona was shocked. Her sister usually spoke in cutesy slang, imitating a magical girl, but now she was incredibly serious. No, we haven't done anything about him since I brought him in earlier today. Oh, thank Satan, her sister exclaimed. Whatever you do, you must not get on their bad side. They are an incredibly dangerous individual. There's no way he's that dangerous. It's Issei, that boy I used to tell you about. I remember him. You had an adorable crush on him when you were younger. Itwa, her sister caught herself. I digress, but Sona, that mark on him is a binding sigil. It's a mark that forms whenever an exceptionally powerful being possesses or bonds with a mortal. So why should I be so scared? I've dealt with plenty of possessions before. Not like this one. If my research is correct, which I'm sure it is, the being attached to him is something ancient, primordial even. Like an ancient god or something? Worse. My research shows the mark is connected to an ancient being known as Umbris. It was revered as a god during a dark age in history, but like most dark ages, the details are fuzzy. One thing is clear. Umbris is fear-given form, a manifestation of negative energy. To put it simply, a primordial avatar that has existed for as long as fear has. So why would such a powerful being attach itself to Issei? That I do not know. But whatever the reason, that boy is extremely dangerous. You should either ally yourself with him or steer clear of him. Alright, I understand. Thank you. And, I love you, big sis. Better. Love you too, Sona. And stay safe. I will. Goodbye. Bye-bye. I need to warn Rias before she does anything rash. Sona dialed Rias's number, and after 3 rings, the other girl finally picked up. Hey Sona, now's not a good time. Can I call you back later? No, it's important, Rias. It's about Issei hyoudo. Whatever you do, don't antagonize him. He's incredibly dangerous. You're about half an hour too late for the warning, but thanks anyway, Sona. What? Are you okay? What happened? We tracked him back to an old warehouse and ambushed him. He incapacitated Kiba and Kaneko with ease, and when Ichika got the upper hand, he went berserk, and a wall of black smoke blocked us from them. Next thing we know, he has a spear to her neck, but then he let us all go. Well, let's be glad none of you died. But that was extremely reckless of you to attack him without knowing what he was or what sacred gear he has. I know. Look, this whole riser situation has me on edge. I was hoping to force him into joining me, but that plan backfired. Yeah, it sure did. Congratulations, Rias. You survived a fight with a primordial avatar of fear. Or at least its host. What? A living manifestation of fear, Rias. You attacked something beyond the gods. No, you have to be pulling my leg here. I wish I was. She let out a heavy sigh. Look, take advantage of the mercy you were given. Don't go poking the bear again. Yes, that's definitely what I'm planning. Good. Now I'm going back to bed. Talk to you later, Rias. Good night, Sona. The warehouse, 12:45 a.m. Issei woke up lying on the cold concrete floor of the warehouse. He sat up and was quickly met with Umbris's voice. Good, you're finally awake. We have much to discuss. What happened? I was fighting Rias's group, and then it just went black. Last I remember, Ichika had me pinned. Years of hatred and despair that had been repressed were all let out at once, and the resulting negative energy had some effects on you. As Umbris said this, Issei examined his hands, noticing they were far paler than before. Once hidden veins now showed through his skin prominently, a sinister shade of black. What the heck, Umbris? What's happening to me? You are no longer fully human, Issei. You're now what is known as a demi-wraith. What? Come on, Umbris, now's no time for theatrics. Sorry, my boy. A demi-wraith is half human, half wraith. A wraith is a type of monster born of the lingering negative emotions of the dead. They feed upon the life force and negative energy of the living. So I'm half ghost now. What the hell? Why did this happen? Your body is attuned to absorb negative energy. When you began producing a massive amount, it wasn't released, it was reabsorbed, causing a type of evolution, for lack of a better word. Well, great. How does this impact me? A lot. For one, your appearance has changed, as you can tell. Another part is that you can no longer hide yourself as a human to other supernatural beings. You bear the mark of undeath, which, before you ask, isn't a physical mark. It's a spiritual thing I don't feel like explaining right now. But what's important is that other supernaturally inclined individuals can sense it. Well, that's no good. Indeed. But on the bright side, your power has greatly increased. Your tolerance of negative energy is now at 58%, and you've unlocked a retinue of new abilities we can go over later. But there's one thing we should discuss now. It must be good then. Lay it on me. Your desperation to fight and the sudden burst of power led to the tome granting you a powerful weapon you shouldn't have been able to access yet. The Shadow Spear. Sounds intense. What does it do? The Shadow Spear is an ancient artifact forged long before your world existed. It is a weapon designed to kill the unkillable. Its purpose is to slay gods. Kill gods? As in the creators of everything. Those gods. Indeed. It is capable of piercing through any defense, allowing it to kill the gods themselves. Though the weapon is only as good as its wielder, so don't get too cocky and think it makes you stronger than you are. It ignores defenses, yes, but you still need to be able to land a killing blow with it. This is a lot to take in. I know, my boy, but we will make it through this together. Yeah, you're right. As long as I've got you, there's nothing that can take us down. That's the spirit, my boy. Now let's head home and get some rest. I don't think that's a good idea. We just finished a massive battle against people who either live at or basically live at that house. Indeed, good thinking. It could be incredibly dangerous to return there. What's the plan? For now, let's head to a hotel. We can figure things out from there. Motel on Koa's Edge, 6:45 a.m. Issei woke up in the motel room and quickly checked the time. It was 6:45, meaning he was already late for school, so he decided to skip it. Besides, it was far easier to avoid any supernaturals this way since his school was practically infested with them. So, my boy, what do we do now? It's clear we can't return to the way things were. Between your current state and the battle against the Gremory Girls' peerage, we are in a bad situation. Yes, we are. But luckily, I have a fix for the home situation at least. I've been writing independently and for freelance contracts for the last 5 years, plus I have that new gig with that American studio ghostwriting, so I have plenty of cash for an apartment. And I have just the place. I've been waiting to move out for years now, so I've been watching any nearby rentals, and one's open right now that's within our means. It's modest, but it will do fine while we get back on our feet. Perfect. Yeah, I'm gonna apply for it right away. 2 days later, the hyoudo residence. 1:25 p.m. It had been 3 days since any member of the hyoudo family or Gremory peerage had seen Issei, and his mother was beginning to grow concerned. And you're sure he hasn't been at school? Mickey asked. Yes, Mom, sure. Why does it matter anyway? He's a big boy, I'm sure he's fine, Ichika replied. She's right, dear. The boy's 18 now. He can handle himself. Besides, with how much time he's on his computer, we are saving a fortune on electricity, Goro added. Our son's been missing for 3 days, and you're glad because of the electric bill. I can't believe you. Mickey was about to continue when they were startled by a loud knock on the door. Mickey quickly got up and answered it, hoping it was Issei. But when she opened it, she saw a middle-aged man wearing a uniform from a local moving company. Behind him were several other men in similar uniforms along with a branded trailer. Hello, ma'am. Is this the hyoudo household? The worker asked. Yes, how can I help you? Mickey replied. I'm here to collect the belongings of Issei hyoudo on his behalf. He also requested I give you this. The man pulled an envelope from his pocket and handed it to her. Now, if you wouldn't mind, my team and I would like to get this done quickly. May we come in? Sure, I guess. Mickey absent-mindedly moved aside, letting the men inside. As they moved upstairs toward Issei's room, she walked back into the living room holding the letter. Who is it, honey? And what do you have there? Goro asked. Movers. They're here for Issei's belongings, and this is a letter from him. You're kidding, right, dear? Goro replied. Oh. She sat down and opened the letter, beginning to read it aloud. Dear family, if I can even call you that. As you can probably tell, I'm moving out. I would come in person, but I'd rather not interact with any of you more than necessary. Over the past years of my life, I've come to realize that I am unwanted. I have always been second to Ichika and always will be. No matter how hard I try or how much I accomplish, I will never get any priority over her. So I'm done trying. It's clear that even though I am your child, I will never truly be your son. I will only be another mouth to feed. And so I'm getting out of your hair once and for all. I have a place to stay and have found a job, so I won't be homeless. If you care at all, I suppose I should thank you for not letting me starve for 18 years. So thank you for providing me the bare minimum to not die. Please make this easy and never contact me again so you can try and cleanse any guilt you might acquire, if any. This is goodbye. Issei, formerly Hyoudo. As she finished reading, tears fell from Mickey's eyes onto the paper. God, I'm a failure of a mother, she said. No chapter end. Fear manifest. The sun leaked through the blinds, casting light onto the boy's face, causing him to wake. Even though he no longer required sleep, he still enjoyed the embrace of unconsciousness. He stumbled out of bed and made his way out of the small bedroom and into the kitchen, his ghastly pale skin highlighted by the morning sunlight. He grabbed an energy drink from the fridge before heading to the living room/office space of his apartment. Sitting on the couch, he pulled out his phone and checked the date. It was the 1-month anniversary of leaving his home. Though his new apartment wasn't luxurious by any means, it was his. No more feeling like a guest in his own home. In that time, he had also ramped up his hunts. He never knew Kuo had such a dark side until he began exterminating it, though he was glad the streets were much safer now. His prey had become scarce, but that was a problem for later. For now, he had to figure out how to spend his day off. He'd finished his latest script ahead of schedule, so he didn't have any obligations today. Good morning, my boy. Did you sleep well? Umbris asked. Morning, Umbris. And yes, I did. How about you? Issei replied. Issei, my boy, I do not. You don't sleep, I know. How was your communing with the psychic plane or whatever it is you do while I sleep? It was quite nice. So, any plans for today? Nope. Might just be a bum and stay in all day. Between the job and hunting criminals into near extinction, I'm getting burned out. I suppose you've earned some time to just relax. There was a knock on the door. Who the hell? It's 8 in the morning. Issei got up from the couch and opened the door, finding no one there. The only trace was a letter sealed with wax, bearing a Leviathan cross, lying on his doormat. Well, I think we know who this is from, Umbris said. Little Miss Citri. Umbris hummed in agreement. Are you going to read it or just toss it? Read it. You never know what it's about. They could be declaring war for all I know. Good point. Well then, let's open it up. I'm curious. Issei's right pointer finger morphed into the familiar razor-sharp claw, tearing through the top of the envelope like a letter opener. He grabbed the letter and began reading. Dear Issei Hyoudo, I hope this letter finds you well. I wish to meet with you to discuss your recent actions, both school-related and, let's call it, extracurricular. So, I would like to invite you to dinner at my home tonight at 6:30 p.m. Signed, Sona Citri. Well, this is certainly interesting. I was expecting her to seek you out, but a dinner invitation. Certainly unique. Will you be attending? Umbris asked. Might as well. I doubt it's a trap. I'm sure Rias told her about our little scuffle. Plus, free food. You don't need food. Yeah, but I still like eating it. Right. So we've got some time to kill before we need to be there. What are we going to do? Issei glanced over at his computer. Outlast trials. Outlast trials. And so it was decided. Issei spent most of the day gaming. While most would find this unproductive, it was actually quite productive for him, as even through the screen, he could still absorb the fear of his teammates. It was around 5 p.m. when he stopped playing to prepare for dinner, showering and creating the illusion of a suit, the usual. Issei then took the form of the thief of sanity and soared through the skies of Kuro, arriving at Sona Citri's home at exactly 6:30 p.m. He knocked on the door, and shortly after, it was answered by Sona herself. She was wearing a modest black dress, and despite her cool, collected demeanor, Issei could sense the dread lurking beneath the surface. "Hello, Miss Citri," he greeted. "Mr. Hyoudo, I see you've decided to accept my invitation." "Indeed. I was quite surprised by it. Tell me, how did you get my new address?" "I have friends in high places, Mr. Hyoudo. I apologize for the invasion of privacy, but I couldn't figure out how else to contact you." "Fair enough. May I enter? I'd like to get down to business." "Oh, just so you know, my peerage is present." "I'd expect no less. You're inviting a fox into your henhouse, so it makes sense to have your guard dog present. Besides, I have no ill will toward any of your group. Let's hope it stays that way." "Agreed." She nervously chuckled as she stepped aside, allowing him to enter. He obliged, stepping inside and removing his shoes. He looked toward Sona. "Lead the way, Miss Citri." Sona nodded and wordlessly moved ahead, leading Issei into the dining room. Already seated at the table was Sona's queen, Tsubaki, who was clearly nervous. Anyone could see that. Issei couldn't blame her. It wasn't every day one dined with fear itself. Sona took a seat next to Tsubaki, and Issei sat opposite them. "Will the rest of your servants be joining us, or just your queen, Miss Citri?" Issei asked. "Just Tsubaki. But tell me, how did you know she was my queen? I don't believe anyone would have told you that." "It's simple. She's your right-hand woman clearly. So, it only makes sense she's your queen." "Impressive. You're quite sharp, Mr. Hyoudo." "I'm sorry, I can't keep this act up. Just call me Issei." "I'm what?" "I thought it would be interesting to act all cool and professional, but it got old fast. Just call me Issei." Sona was shocked for a moment before letting out a small giggle. Issei could immediately feel much of the underlying tension she'd been holding in melt away. "Right then, Issei it is. You may call me Sona instead of Miss Citri." "Right. So, what was it you wanted to discuss with me, Sona? Why don't we enjoy our meal first, and then we'll talk?" "Fine by me." Issei and Sona made polite small talk as they ate, and once they were done, Sona suggested they move to the parlor. It was a cozy room, with a lit fireplace providing a gentle warmth. A chessboard with intricately carved pieces sat on a table between two plush chairs. Sona took the white side, and Issei sat on the black. "Care for a game of chess while we talk?" "For old time's sake," Sona proposed. "So, you do remember me? I was starting to think you didn't, is it?" A light blush spread across Sona's face at the use of her old nickname. "Of course, I remember. You were my only friend back then. And you were mine. Now then, why don't you take the first move?" Sona moved her piece. "So, what is it you wanted to discuss?" Issei asked. He moved his piece, his gaze steady as the tension in the room subtly shifted with each decision made on the board. "Two things, mainly, your absence from school and your nightly activities," she responded, her fingers lingering briefly on the piece as she surveyed the board, already thinking several moves ahead. "I see. Let's begin with my hunts, then. What is there to discuss about them?" he asked, strategically positioning his piece to block one of her future plays. "My expression of gratitude. You've been dealing with criminals and rogue devils for me, so I thought some gratitude was in order. Plus, I have an offer for you. You'll clearly continue hunting, so I think we can both benefit from this offer." She moved a piece, reinforcing her defenses, all while keeping her expression neutral. "And that is," he inquired, careful not to expose any weaknesses in his position. "I'm given information about stray devils so I can hunt them down. Additionally, there's a monetary reward for killing them, so I thought this. I supply you with targets, and we split the revenue 60/40ths in your favor." She advanced another piece, subtly shifting the balance of the game. She seemed relaxed, but there was an intensity behind her eyes. "I see. Besides the money, what's in it for you?" he asked, defending against her attack. "Keen as always. I'll be taking credit, so my reputation gets a boost as well." She moved a piece, advancing toward his side of the board, pushing the game to a more critical phase. "I accept. I appreciate the honesty. Now, let's move on to the school issue." His next move was deliberate, shifting the flow of the game once again, but leaving her a narrow path forward. "Right. We both know you have no intention of returning," she said, her next move swift, closing off a section of the board, forcing Issei to rethink his next steps. He moved a piece, adapting to her maneuver, but showing no signs of concern. I can pull some strings and get you your diploma. We both know you would have graduated, your grades are second only to mine. She moved another piece, pressing her advantage, though not recklessly. There was still much left to play for. And what will that cost me, he asked, defending against her encroaching strategy, the game reaching a more critical stage. Let's call it a favor. She made her move, her plan now clearer on the board, as she cornered one of his key pieces. All right then, I'd be very thankful, he replied. He made his move, leaving Sona to pause, her hand hovering over the board. She went to move her next piece, only to realize something. Issei had anticipated her every step. He stood up and scribbled something on a scrap of paper. My phone number, so we can stay in contact? With that, he walked out while Sona couldn't help but chuckle. What's so funny, ma'am? Tsubaki asked. He forced a draw. Sona shook her head, a smile tugging at her lips as she glanced back at the board. Some time had passed since the evening when Issei and Sona struck their bargain, and it had proven fruitful for both of them. Beyond that, their friendship had been rekindled, and it was no longer unusual to find Issei hanging around the student council room, helping with simple tasks. Other times, he'd be at Sona's home, where they played chess or shared easy conversation, much to the amusement of Umbris and Sona's peerage. Tonight was no different. Checkmate, Issei declared, moving his piece with finality. Another good match. Want to play again? Sona asked. Issei stood, stretching his arms above his head. Nah, it's been fun, but I've got to head out. Got some writing to do if I want to keep my editor off my back. Fair enough. Have a good night. You too. See you soon. Just as he turned to leave, Sona spoke again. I almost forgot. Rias Gremory is competing against Riser Phoenix in a raiding game. I'm hosting a little watch party with my peerage. You're welcome to join us if you'd like. Sounds fun. When is it? This Saturday. The match starts at 3 p.m., but feel free to come by earlier. Alright. See you then. With a casual wave, Issei's body dissolved into a fine black mist, slipping out through the open window and vanishing into the night sky over Kuro. So, when are you going to confess to her, boy? Umbris asked. Never. She's devil nobility, and I'm a factionless being. Even if she felt the same, which I doubt, there's no way someone of her status could be with me. I'd rather keep what we have. Fine. Keep pining, then until someone else takes her. Drop it, or I'll make you watch Sesame Street again. Consider it dropped. Good. Now, let's head home. I've got work to do. At Sona's home, Sona let out a heavy sigh as she gathered the chess pieces. Didn't confess again, huh? Tsubaki remarked, startling Sona. Satan, Tsubaki. You scared me. She sighed again. And no, I didn't. Come on, Sona. You need to get this off your chest already. I know. It's just, whenever he's around, I can't seem to say it. I hide behind logic, and it never comes out right. Tsubaki smirked. The great Sona Citri, outmatched by a simple crush. It's fine. If you really like Issei, it'll come out when the time is right. Yeah, you're right. Thanks, Tsubaki. Did you at least invite him to the watch party? I did. He said he'd come. Good. I'll get back to the preparations, then. With a respectful bow, Tsubaki excused herself to continue setting up for the event. Saturday arrived, and Issei showed up at the Citri household at 2 p.m., hoping to help with setup. He wore jeans and a black dress shirt, unsure of the dress code but aiming for something safe. Not wanting to arrive empty-handed, he brought chips and salsa along. After a quick knock on the door, a familiar face greeted him. Say, my man. How's it going? Saji greeted. Issei and Saji had become friends recently, bonding over their similar sense of humor. Not bad. Brought some snacks. He held up the chips and jar of salsa. Sweet. You can never have enough snacks. Come on in, we're just hanging out until the match starts. Saji led Issei to the main living room, where the viewing was set to take place. Sona glanced up from the couch and greeted him with her usual calm demeanor. Good to see you, Issei. Take a seat, we're watching the pre-game coverage. Sounds good. Brought some snacks, by the way. I see that. Saji, could you take those to the kitchen? You got it, ma'am. After handing the snacks to Saji, Issei took a seat next to Sona on the couch. So, how do these rating games work? I know devils use them to settle disputes and improve their rankings, but what's the gist of it? Issei asked. They're gladiatorial battles. Two peerages face off using different rule sets, but at the core they're just organized fights between factions. Ah, good old-fashioned BLD sports? Exactly. Who do you think will win? I hope Rias does, but Riser Phoenix has a strong peerage. If I were betting, I'd put my money on him. Still, Rias might surprise us. Her aversion to the consequences could push her to victory. What happens if she loses? She'll have to marry Riser in a political union. Wait, Riser's how old? 25. And Rias is 18. That's gross. Yes, but that's nobility for you. The Phoenix family produces Phoenix tears, making them incredibly valuable. The Gremory family holds the Mao Lucifer title. A union between them would be lucrative. Still, selling your daughter off like that is messed up. I know who I'm rooting for. Sona gave him a light punch on the shoulder. You're a good man, Issei hyoudo. It's nice to see that regardless of being some fear god thing, you still keep basic humanity. I try. Now, let's shut up and watch. They settled in as the game began. Saji and another peerage member brought out a feast of junk food, and the group enjoyed the match. The battle started evenly, with both sides trading blows. But once Riser joined the fight, it was over. His regeneration and pyromancy overwhelmed Rias's peerage, forcing her to concede to avoid further injury. Well, that sigil, Issei remarked. Indeed. Despite everything, Rias is a good person. One of my few friends in the underworld. Issei stood, cracking his neck. Anyway, I've got to head out, got a target to hunt. Thanks for the invite. A faint blush spread across Sona's cheeks at the nickname. Of course, Issei. It's always a pleasure. With a two-finger salute, Issei vanished in a swirl of black mist. Later that night, Sona sat in her study, finishing homework, when an unexpected magical call interrupted her. Lord Surzex. To what do I owe the pleasure? She answered. No need for formalities, Sona. I've known you since you were in diapers. I need to pick your brain, Surzex replied. Go on. I'm listening. You know how Rias's game went. She shouldn't have to marry that womanizer, but I can't intervene. Any ideas? Sona thought for a moment, then spoke. A challenge could dissolve the engagement, but it has to come from outside devil politics. No one would go against the Phoenixes and risk losing access to the tiers over something like this, not even myself. And who would do that? Surzex asked. A smirk tugged at Sona's lips. I know just the man, and he owes me a favor. Elsewhere, Issei sneezed over the corpse of a fallen angel. Someone must be talking about me. Chapter and Issei sat at his desk, phone pressed to his ear. His pen tapped idly against the wooden surface as he listened to the voice on the other end. Issei, I want you to fight Riser. To free Rias from her engagement. Issei leaned back in his chair, rubbing the bridge of his nose as he sighed. And why would I do that, Sona? Sure, I don't like the whole engagement thing, but Rias isn't exactly my favorite person. Besides, I've made it very clear I don't want to get involved in devil politics. That's why I let her walk the last time I dealt with her. Sona's voice, calm and collected as always, carried a subtle undertone of urgency. For one, you owe me a favor. And for another, I can promise you won't face any backlash from the devils. Issei raised an eyebrow, leaning forward with a skeptical look on his face. And how exactly do you plan to guarantee that? Sona replied quickly, her tone lightly teasing. Simple. Surzex Gremory, her older brother and the current Mao Lucifer, is fully aware of the situation. He's a key player in this plan and will ensure no harm or backlash comes your way. Issei groaned, running a hand through his hair. Even so, I'm not sure that favor stretches this far. You pulled a few strings to help me get my diploma. The diploma I earned, mind you, And now you're asking me to fight an incredibly powerful devil. This seems a bit uneven. Sona's response was quick, her tone teasing. Really, Mr. Living concept of fear. Are we playing the too difficult card now? Issei sighed, a wry smile tugging at his lips. Fair point. Fine, I'll do it. Sona's tone brightened. Thank you, Issei. On one condition. Sona paused, her voice curious now. And that is? Issei grinned mischievously, his tone suddenly more playful. Not only do you cash in my favor, but you also have to let me take you out to dinner sometime. There was a brief silence on the other end before Sona spoke, her tone carefully neutral. As in, a date. Yes. I suppose you could call it that. Sona was quiet for a moment before responding with a simple, composed tone. Agreed. A messenger will arrive shortly with instructions for the engagement party. That's where you'll issue the challenge. Got it. See you there, I assume. Indeed. See you there's. The call ended, and Issei leaned back in his chair, staring at the ceiling with a bemused expression. I can't believe I just agreed to that. A shadowy form materialized behind him, its voice low and teasing. You sly dog, Issei. You finally asked her out. All it took was agreeing to pluck a chicken. Issei glanced over his shoulder, eyebrows raised. Pluck a chicken? Riser phoenix. You know, like a firebird. Issei smirked, shaking his head. Ah, I see. Good one, buddy. A knock at the door interrupted their banter. Issei stood and walked over, opening the door in one fluid motion. On the other side stood a stunning woman with silver hair and a regal demeanor, dressed impeccably in a maid's uniform. You must be Issei Hyoudo? Issei nodded, taking a moment to process her aura of authority. That's me. You must be the courier Sona mentioned. Correct. I am Graphia Lucifuge, Queen of Lord Surzek's peerage. From the pocket of her apron, she withdrew an envelope and handed it to him. This contains everything you need to know. Thanks. You're welcome. Best of luck in your battle. Issei nodded, closing the door as she departed. He moved to the couch, tearing open the envelope. Inside, he found a magic circle and a neatly folded letter. Placing the magic circle on the table, he began to read. Surzek's letter. Hello, Issei. First, thank you for agreeing to this. I understand the risks for someone factionless like yourself, but rest assured, I'll ensure no retribution comes your way. Now, to the details. You'll challenge Riser at the engagement party, which begins at 7 p.m. 2 nights from the date you receive this letter. Here's the plan. You'll pose as a freelance mercenary hired by an anonymous devil noble opposed to the Gremory Phoenix Union. Normally, such challenges are dismissed, but your unique reputation makes this viable. Noble devils love a good spectacle. Play up your living concept of fear persona. Sell it. Make it a performance, and I'll have the perfect excuse to approve the duel under the guise of entertainment. Once the duel is sanctioned, it's simple. Defeat Riser. Good luck. Everything hinges on your performance. Issei chuckled, folding the letter. Ashoha. What do you think, Umbris? Ready for our grand debut to the supernatural world. The shadowy figure swirled around him, its voice eager. It's time for the world to know that fear is back, and it's hunting. Umbris's form loomed over Issei, its presence dark and imposing. And our first prey. A cocky bird who needs his wings clipped. Issei grinned, his eyes narrowing with determination. Let's show them what fear can do. Time skipped to the night of the party. Issei stood in his living room, magic circle in hand. The time was nigh, and he was ready to make his debut outside of Kuo. After a moment of fiddling with it, he activated the circle, and in a flash, he stood before the door of a lavish mansion. Inside, he could hear the sounds of celebration, a cacophony of chattering voices mingling with an orchestral soundtrack. The party had already begun, which was perfect for Issei. A distracted crowd meant sneaking in unnoticed would be all too easy. With a snap of his fingers, he felt his form dissolve, mass melting away into a vaguely humanoid black mist. Now in his thief of sanity form, he wasted no time slipping beneath the door and into the grand parlor where the festivities were taking place. The room was a masterpiece of luxury, with glittering chandeliers and polished marble floors reflecting the warm glow of the lights. He moved quickly, darting from shadow to shadow, his presence all but invisible to the crowd. Reaching one of the ornate pillars that supported the vaulted ceiling, he climbed using the shadows themselves, ascending into the darkness above. From this vantage point, he surveyed the room below. The Gremory peerage was gathered near the center, speaking among themselves. Sona and Tsubaki were not far away, their stoic expressions contrasting the lively energy of the party. Across the room, Riser Phoenix stood surrounded by a group of similarly arrogant devils, his laughter grating and self-assured. Soon, the Lady of the Hour appeared. Rias Gremory, radiant in a stunning white dress that shimmered with every step, approached the crowd. Riser turned to her, his smirk widening as he launched into an obnoxious speech about unity and strength. Issei tuned out the drivel. Instead, he conjured and positioned several somnophages, creatures of his own creation, at strategic points around the room's light sources. As Riser's speech reached its peak, Issei snapped his fingers. Darkness fell like a shroud. The chandeliers above and the lanterns along the walls were extinguished in an instant, plunging the room into a pitch-black silence. Gasps and whispers filled the air. "Well, aren't you? Such a charming little couple," he said, his voice reverberating eerily through the room, enhanced by the Phantom Symphony. A soft chuckle followed. "Too bad I can't let you two get married." "What the? Show yourself, coward," Riser shouted. With a wave of his hand, Riser reignited the sconces and chandeliers, bathing the room in light once more. All eyes turned to the center, where Issei stood. Shrouded in thick black mist that cascaded off him like smoke, he cut a menacing figure. The mist blanketed the ground, swirling around the ankles of the stunned crowd. "What's a filthy undead doing here?" Riser sneered. "Ah, you devils and your racism." Issei offered an exaggerated, mocking bow. "Allow me to introduce myself. I am Issei, a humble mercenary and the living incarnation of fear. I'm here on behalf of a benefactor who, let's just say, isn't thrilled about the idea of the houses of Gremory and Phoenix uniting. So, it's quite simple. I challenge you, Riser Phoenix, to a duel. If I win, your engagement to Rias Gremory is off." The room erupted into hushed whispers as the devils exchanged shocked glances, too afraid to speak aloud but unable to contain their gossip. "Ridiculous. Guards, seize him," Riser commanded. At his command, several knights clad in ornate armor stepped forward. Before they could even reach Issei, the idol of the brood around his neck pulsed with psychic energy. The guards froze mid-stride, their bodies convulsing briefly before collapsing unconscious to the floor. "Well, that's impressive," came a voice, heavy with authority. All eyes turned as Surzex Lucifer stepped forward, his crimson hair and commanding aura leaving no doubt as to his identity. Graphia stood at his side, her expression as unreadable as ever. "I think you should take him up on the deal, Riser," Surzex continued. "My lord, this is absurd. He's not even a devil." Riser protested. "True. But surely a lowly undead, as you called him, is no match for the great Riser Phoenix." He let the word hang in the air, his tone sharp. "Are you afraid you'll lose to our uninvited guest?" Riser lose. "Impossible." "Fine, Riser will fight him." Riser declared. "Very well. I declare this an official duel. If the intruder wins, the engagement is annulled. If Riser wins, the engagement remains intact. Do both parties agree to these terms?" "Yes," Issei replied. "Riser agrees." Riser echoed. "Then let it begin." With a flash of light, the two combatants were transported to an otherworldly arena. Suspended in a void, the battleground was surrounded by massive chess pieces carved into the walls, their black surfaces gleaming ominously. "Riser is feeling generous, so he'll allow you to make the first move." Riser stood confidently, arms crossed, a cocky smirk plastered across his face. "Oh, you won't be fighting me. At least, not at first." Issei gestured lazily. "You heard the big guy, this is entertainment. And me defeating you in under 5 minutes wouldn't be very entertaining." So, instead, I'll be pulling a little nightmare from that head of yours. Kill it and then you get to fight me. Riser scoffed, unimpressed. That cockiness faded the moment he felt a chilling sensation wash over him as Issei delved into his mind, searching its depths for the perfect fear. Oh, that's a fun one. With a snap of his fingers, a mass of black smoke erupted from Riser's chest before solidifying. Before him stood a frost-bitten corpse, its gray, frost-coated flesh barely clinging to its bones. The torn remains of a parka hung from its hunched frame. Its dead, white eyes stared ahead, its mouth agape in a silent scream. Say hello to frigophobia, the fear of freezing to death. Good luck. Riser will destroy this pitiful creature with ease. Riser shouted. Without hesitation, Riser hurled a blazing fireball at the frost-bitten figure. The inferno roared toward the monstrosity, only to fizzle out midair, encased in a thick layer of ice. Riser's confident smirk faltered as the creature continued its steady march toward him, each step lowering the temperature in the arena. Frost formed on the ground where it passed, and Riser could feel the biting cold creeping into his very core. For a brief moment, he froze, unsure of how to proceed. Then, snarling in frustration, he unleashed a torrent of flames, a blazing inferno that lit up the void-like arena. The concentrated heat battered the creature, its frozen flesh cracking and melting under the onslaught. Finally, the frost-bitten figure collapsed, its remains reduced to a smoldering puddle before dissipating back into black smoke. Impressive, Mr. Phoenix. That thing's body was at absolute zero, yet you managed to destroy it. You should be very proud, Issei remarked. Riser's confidence surged again, bolstered by his victory. Of course, Riser is invincible. Riser is the Gria. Now you get to fight me for real. With a flourish, Issei summoned his weapon, a spear forged from the same inky black mist that surrounded him chapter end.